Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Jeb and Flo on the Street Parking Podcast channel. I have a couple of very special guests with me here today. My wife, Carolina, and little baby Callie Wolf, who is a little bit chatty right now. So we'll see how long she makes it. But really good to have you guys here.
Thanks.
So by popular request, a lot of people hit the hotline and reached out on social media and stuff, and they were like, we want to hear your guys' story, and you should have her on as a guest. So ask and you shall receive. So we're just going to get right into it. We put the word out on Instagram asking for, questions. What do you guys want to know? What do you want to hear? What should we talk about? And we got some really good responses. So, I think
she's super pumped.
She's super pumped.
Super.
She's got her little street parking, onesie on, sweet headband. I think she's got teeth coming, so she's really liking to keep her mouth busy.
So much drool.
So much drool. It's just a part of life. A lot of people have been wanting to know about parenthood and, what our routine is like, and, drool. I think drool just pretty much sums it up. Drool and like every other
all the things.
Thing, yeah, substance that could come out of your body. It's just part of the deal.
Hi, baby.
So, okay. Carolina, you got some responses too.
Yeah,
right?
I'll let you go first though.
Okay, so I think we should just start at the beginning with a lot of people wanted to know how we met. And our versions of the story are slightly different. So why don't you go first? Do you want to go first?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I moved to Los Angeles from San Diego, where I had been living for the previous 7 years. I moved to Los Angeles in 2010. Oh, no.
Oh, Callie.
All right, I think I should maybe call in for some help.
She didn't like that move.
I moved in 2010. And I went to Los Angeles for music. All right, I'm getting Noodle to come help us out. So I moved up there. I was going to take over the music industry as a writer, producer of pop music. Nothing real game-changing or anything like that. You can come in. Super special guest, Noodle, helping us out. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Okay, bye, honey.
Bye, baby. Okay.
Callie loves Noodle.
Loves her.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm going to shorten the story. I get a job at a restaurant because all great musicians in Los Angeles that are coming up there to take over the world of music wait tables. And so I got a job at this restaurant, nice, super like trendy celebrity chef, all the whatever. People show up there, place to be seen, liquid nitrogen in the food and spherification and like all this ridiculous stuff. The food was really good, by the way. But anyways, I was super pumped. I'm getting walked through this 12,000 square foot restaurant. It's in a hotel. And the general manager's taking me around on my first day, takes me into the office. There's a girl sitting at the desk there, very good posture. First thing I noticed, she had her back to me. Long brown hair, very good posture. So already 2 for 2. And he's like, this is Carolina. She's the captain of SAM, which is the private chef's tasting room. And if you can hear that. So this girl turns around, I see her, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I like this girl, is what I'm thinking in my head. But that was pretty much it. and I don't think I've really felt like I saw her again for a while.
I think I may need to just check and see.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm worried.
Okay.
She's okay.
Go for it. Hey, if you feel like this is also answering some of the other questions about parenthood.
Okay. She's okay.
Okay. So yeah. So then about maybe a month later, I didn't even make this connection, but I'm in there before dining service started, looking at my section, making sure everything looking good. And there's this other girl server in the dining room polishing up her section. And we made eye contact and she gave me this look and smiled. And I was like, yes. And from that point, I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to position myself where I can, get to know her a little bit. So before that happened, that second sort of initial interaction, I think your story started.
Yeah. So I'd been working in that restaurant for a really long time. And it was, I don't know, a pretty stressful restaurant. I mean, they're all stressful, right? I guess.
This one, I worked in a lot of restaurants. This one was the craziest. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. So I was always super stressed out. And I think that time that he says that he saw me in the office, I was probably freaking out about something. I don't remember that interaction of him
Yeah, you were like,
yeah,
hey, how's it going? And then just went right back to your thing.
Yeah. But I do remember this staff meeting. There's what do you call it? Pre-shift. God, how did I forget that already? So there was a pre-shift meeting and everybody circles up. It's a big staff. We all come to the dining room floor, talk about, everything that we need to know for the night. They're going to introduce they would introduce any new employees or whatever at that time. And I remember getting to that staff meeting and looking across the room, and Jeb was there in the circle, and I was like, that one. I am going to make him mine. That I'm pretty sure I had that exact thought process. And so, yeah, I kind of made it my mission to figure out who this guy was and to lock him down, which involved some ridiculous antics. Including at one point when we were in the so I was kind of managing this private dining room and needed staff for special events and stuff like that. And so I could pull staff from the main dining room into the private dining room. I should have been pulling staff that was a little bit more qualified, had been working there for a little while or knew what we did in that that type of service, because it was a little bit different. I was a lot different, actually. But there was one day where we had a special event that it was coming up, I guess the following night, and they were asking me who I wanted for help, and I said Jeb. And so I knew he was going to be working with me in that room the following night. And so I made sure to wear this super blousey blouse top and this red pencil skirt. And I did my hair, and all night long I was just twirling around the room with Jeb. He was supposed to be working, but I was doing my best to distract him. And he didn't really know what was going on in terms of the service. I didn't really care. I just wanted him there. And
it was the mayor. I think it was the mayor of Los Angeles or the deputy mayor or something.
Yeah.
And his bratty kid wouldn't eat any of the 22-course meal that was being served. So we had to order Domino's pizza, sneak it in through the back of the hotel so that this little kid would get some food. That's a different story. Anyways, it's funny because I was trying to like position myself in certain ways so I could like get to know Carolina. And I was completely oblivious to the fact that she was trying to pull strings to like get me in her vicinity as well. So we both thought we were being really cool and clever and like trying to, play these silly games that, restaurant games. And I remember, so Carolina was the captain of this private room. And I knew the people that worked in there, and I would be like, so how do you get into Sam? Because I wanted to like get in there and make more money, but also like, see what was going on with this Carolina girl. But I would see sometimes these servers like getting pulled aside and like talked to, and they were like, Carolina's is kind of a hard ass. And I'd see her have this real serious look on her face sometimes when she was walking through the restaurant and dealing with the hostesses. So I was very nervous in that particular event because you could get in trouble if you like clinked the glasses too loud. And I was like trying to put the glass, and you're just banging stuff all over the place. Messing up, and Carolina kept being like, "Nah, it's cool, it's all good."
And meanwhile, I'm like freaking out inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So we played those silly games for a little while, and it was later in the summer they had this employee appreciation party. The restaurant group that owned this restaurant owned a bunch of hotels, nightclubs, and restaurants in Los Angeles. And they actually own casinos in Vegas too. Anyways, so they basically bought out or, rented out one of their clubs in Hollywood for all of the employees. And that was the night that we connected on a deeper level, I guess you could say. We still had never really had any kind of meaningful conversation. No. We were just very attracted to one another.
Yeah.
And you couldn't quite figure me out, and I couldn't quite figure you out. And so I think that's what was like so fascinating. We were fascinated by each other. Mm-hmm. And it took a while to kind of dig deeper into that fascination.
Yeah.
Say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just danced around it a lot.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that you also may have been entertaining some other ideas in this time. You had just moved to LA, so I think you were like enjoying the perks of being new in LA.
LA gets a bad rap. People think that like, people in LA are like snobby or, too cool for you or whatever. That was not my experience. I moved to LA and like everybody was very friendly. I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're working in the restaurant business, everybody's like trying to be something else. So they're always, and you're working in a restaurant where there's lots of people who are powerful people in the industries you're trying to break into. So everyone's trying to look their best and, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I felt like people were very friendly towards me, and I enjoyed that.
I had to work pretty hard, I think. It felt like I had to work really hard to get his attention.
But let me say this. I lived in LA for 6 months before that was it, before you and I just pretty much became exclusive. It was like 6 months. Mm-hmm. So I had like 6 months to go crazy and have fun. Not that I wasn't having fun after that, but like, you know what I'm saying. So, and then pretty much after that,
yeah,
you succeeded in locking me down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. So when do you think, because, I mean, we're all friends here. We can be honest. I wasn't looking for anything serious.
I wasn't either.
We weren't looking for anything serious. Attraction was purely physical, and it took a while for us to actually get to know each other as people. And so when was it for you, or was there a moment when you made the switch to where you wanted to actually be closer?
I don't know that it was like a specific moment. What I do remember is that there were just so many instances of seeing you respond to me and to life in a way that like I had never known. So I do remember we were at dinner. I also like kind of tricked him.
She tricked me a lot.
And I'd been living in LA for a really long time, and I knew a lot of the restaurants and the, cool bars to go to and chefs that were opening new places and that kind of thing. And so I would tell him like, oh, hey, let's go check out this restaurant. And I would show him around. It was like under the guise of showing him around LA, when really I was just trying to like steal his time or spend more time with him. But we spent a lot of time going out to eat, I think. We both really love to eat, but like not just eat, but like we really appreciate food. Like we love, to savor it. We love really good service. Yeah, we love it so much. It's like a full...
Yeah, the whole experience of it.
Yeah. So we did that a lot. And I guess I can go ahead and go there. I was still drinking at the time, but Jeb was not. And so we would go to these restaurants, and I would like order a couple cocktails and some wine, and he would just sit there and like be totally cool and totally normal. Sorry, that's weird, but like,
crazy, right?
Yeah, he was just like so chill and so laid back. And we would have such a good time, and he would be completely sober. And that, to me, was, like, so confusing. I don't think I'd ever known anyone that was sober. And he never, like, made it a big deal, never made me feel bad about it or weird or, yeah, it was just like, I don't like broccoli or whatever. He's like, yeah, I just don't drink alcohol.
I mean, I don't know if you remember how much you remember of our first night that we like hooked up, but it was at the employee party, and I had left, and then Carolina had left, and then texted me like, hey, where did you go? I was like, it's on. So I went and picked her up, and we were driving back over to my place, and I don't know if you remember that car ride, but she basically was like, so what's your deal? Like, why are you so chill? Because in this restaurant that was insane, and all the servers were just so dramatic. They're all actors, and they're like running around, like having these meltdowns because there's never any spoons or anything, And I just didn't care. Like, I didn't care that everything was going down in flames. I cared about giving a good experience to my table. And I would just be chill, and nobody could figure that out. They're like, why are you not freaking out right now? And I'm like, because there's nothing anybody can do about the circumstances right now. So just chill, Yeah. Anyways, and then I was like, I think in that car ride, I told you, I was like, yeah, I don't drink. And you were like, what?
Yeah.
You were like,
it was so confusing.
Yeah, I think it was confusing. It almost to the point of like a little bit of aggravation, and maybe also just knowing that like I probably wouldn't have any more alcohol at my house when we got there.
Yeah, probably some of that too.
Yeah. So it was something that was like unique, obviously, to me, to you that hadn't, been around people like that.
Yeah. So it was like, it was seeing you, be able to go out to dinner and enjoy dates and enjoy our time together and have fun and like be spontaneous and be, like honest and open and vulnerable. All of these things, you were doing all of that sober. And that to me was fascinating. I think probably I didn't realize it until a little later because I didn't believe that was possible. I'd only known doing all of those doing life while drinking. And so I think that was the thing that started to really get my attention. And watching you handle life with a lot of integrity was where I was like, I think that's where I started to really fall for you. You were like responsible and honest and still like so cool and so fun, which was new to me.
How can that be?
Yeah. Oh, and another thing is that you were not dramatic at all. And I think my other relationships were just full of a lot of drama. There were like high highs and really low lows. And I would try to bring that in to our interactions and our relationship. And, and I remember you just like, you would not entertain that from me at all. So it was like this wake up call for me that I couldn't get away with some of that type of behavior. And like whether or not I knew it at the time, that was forcing me to decide whether or not I wanted to like step up and be a better person, to be a better version of myself, because I couldn't get away with all the like drama that I was used to getting away with.
Yeah, that's funny. So for me, there was one moment when so Carolina, everyone's very dynamic. Everyone has a lot of sides to them. And when I got hired at this job, yes, she had a position of power, and that always is intriguing to me. But, at the same time, when I kind of was like asking around about people or whatever, she also had a reputation of like being like a party girl and maybe being like having a certain zest for living, to quote Caddyshack. She was having fun. A stuck-up person might say, but she was.
Oh God, Jeb.
She was having fun, and I have no judgment towards that. And in fact, guess what? I was interested in having fun as well, right? So I didn't have any kind of issue with that, and I also, whatever, like we had a good time together, but that's all it was. And one time, after a few months, I would say, of us pretty much hanging out every night, but not really doing a lot of like getting to know one another on a personal level, you said, hey, like we went on a hike up Runyon. That was cool.
Oh God, I was dying. I was not into fitness at all. And he wanted to go on this like day hike.
It was the best time ever.
Oh God. And he's like crushing this mountain. It's not a mountain, it's like a small hill.
It's a big hill.
Yeah. And I'm trying to like keep up with him, and I'm trying to pretend that I'm not out of breath, but I was so out of breath. I was so dying. But I was trying to act like really cool.
Yeah, I didn't read into any of that.
Ugh.
But so then there was a time where you were like, I was like, maybe it was your idea. You're like, hey, maybe we should like hang out during the day and let me kidnap you for the day and take you on an adventure. I was like, cool, that sounds great. So we drove to the coast and, like to Malibu, and then started driving up. And we went to this beach called Matador Beach, which at the time, before all the Insta models discovered it, like it was pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? There wasn't a lot of people there. And there's all these really cool rock formations, and the tide comes in and kind of blasts the rocks, and it's really beautiful. And we kind of went under some caves. And I remember we were in the water, like wading through the water. And I just was like looking at her, watching her. I'm getting like emotional right now. Watching her, and the sun was coming down, and I looked at her and I was like, holy shit. I think I'm in love with this girl. And it wasn't like that I knew a lot about you. Like, I didn't know your family. I didn't know all the things that you would maybe need to know about somebody for you to decide what your opinion is of them. But it was like, I saw you. I saw, like, deep down, I saw who she was. Forget about the reputation, forget about any of that stuff. Like, I saw something that I think a lot of people didn't. And so that was it for me. And it was scary because I wasn't looking for that. I didn't want that at the time, but it was like I couldn't deny it either. And then we went further up into Ojai and like watched this beautiful sunset in this valley at this like meditation garden. And there's this thing called the pink moment where when the sun sets, there's about 5 minutes when the light hits the valley and it bounces up off these rocks behind you and everything turns bright pink. And then after that, like we drove down and like there's this little tiny kind of hole in the wall pizza place down there in Ojai, and we like shared a pizza, and it was the best day ever. Yeah, it really was. And so that just like cemented it for me. So, our anniversary for our wedding is in August, but like that day in November is kind of like a very special commemorative day, I think, almost on the same level as our wedding.
Yeah.
Which was incredible.
Yeah. He proposed to me at the pink moment.
Yeah.
At that same meditation garden in Ojai. And then we went and drove down and went to that same little pizza place. And when we walked in the door, all my family was there, like including my dad who'd flown in from Costa Rica, my mom from Florida, close friends that drove in from all over California.
It was pretty cool.
And we had pizza together after he proposed.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
One thing that I thought was just super cool was just everything seems so like meant to be was when we were driving up the coast when I was planning on proposing. We stopped at a restaurant and we were eating, and in the booth behind us, like looking over Carolina's shoulder, there was this guy eating with his family, and I was like, who is that? And I finally realized it was Robert Trujillo, the bassist for Metallica, and he's an incredible musician, and just like his stage presence is
so cool.
Yeah, so cool. And that kind of gave me some good juice in the day because I'm a big Metallica fan. And so then, I went and proposed in that same place during the pink moment, except this time there was a ton of people up there. And I was like, what? And I heard this collective just like, as soon as I got down on my knee. So I was like, oh God, just keep going. So then, when I got to pick our wedding song, I thought it was super fitting, and I think it's such a beautiful song. The song that Carolina walked out to at our wedding was Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. And I hired this guitarist to kind of play it just like on a classical guitar with no lyrics or anything, but it was so awesome.
It was so beautiful. Yeah, like the lyrics to that song are so perfect.
Yeah.
And
then a couple years down the road, we got to go see Metallica at the Rose Bowl, and it was incredible. And
Jeb got in the pit.
Yeah, I got it. It was my chance. It was my chance. I'd never really been big enough to get into a mosh pit before, and I went in and still got tossed around like I was in a washing machine. But
it was terrifying. I didn't do it. I really wanted to, but I didn't do it.
I know.
I was like, my mother would kill me if I got hurt doing this. She'd kill Jeb if I got hurt doing this.
Yeah, seriously. I think she wanted to kill me after the birth.
No.
Well, she was scared. And maybe on that note, we could go into one of the other questions, which I think was a big one. People are interested in kind of the birth story and recovery from birth. And I think that maybe, hopefully, I will sometime be on your SP Mamas podcast. And we'll go into much greater detail on the birth story.
Yeah.
But I think that recovery from birth, and then another really great question, several variations, but just like how do we maintain our fitness and, deal with our sleeping patterns being sporadic with a newborn. So all of that kind of wrapped into one. I think it's all kind of rooted in the same thing.
Yeah.
Recovery has been, I think, really, really dramatic and impressive, but it's also been very
hard.
It's been hard.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe because it's been so hard, like physically, like you guys have probably heard this a million times by now, but like I could not walk. I lost tons of blood. I was a wreck. Like I was super sick and super weak after Callie was born. And I think that kind of established some patterns that are probably still running right now, where basically I relied on Jeb to keep me alive, like to cook everything, to keep me fed. Like I had to sleep on the couch because I couldn't get in and out of our bed, and Callie was in the bassinet next to me on the couch, and he would like set up little plates of food to leave for me for the overnight feedings and stuff, and we decided early on that I think that I would do all of the like late night feedings because I wanted him to sleep, because I needed him to be okay enough to take care of me during the day. So that it was difficult not sleeping, and
She'll be okay.
yeah, I need to eat.
Well, we'll finish this part, and then I can do some stuff.
Okay. So, yeah, that was like really difficult. The nighttime stuff was like a nightmare. But knowing that I like didn't have to worry about where my food was coming from or what I was going to eat or having to go get groceries or like prepping anything, like that saved me for sure. And then that has just kind of continued because it's taken a long time, where we still basically like I get up through the night to take care of Callie, and then Jeb gets up pretty early in the morning, but like after most of the nighttime stuff is done, and he fixes up like a breakfast smoothie because I'm usually like starving by then, and coffee because I'm dying by then. And then he takes Callie. And in those first couple of hours in the morning is when I was doing like my conscious core stuff or getting a little bit of extra sleep or getting some work done, you know, like without having to be juggling Callie and stuff. And then, and he continues to prep all of our meals and keep me fed and alive so that I can keep our baby fed and alive. And we just kind of like slipped into that routine and have stayed there. I have every intention of cooking again and meal prepping again. And I want to like, you know, be able to cook with Callie, and I look forward to doing that. But right now, it still feels a little bit like we're in survival mode. A little. It's better.
Little bit, yeah. I mean, when I think back on like the first week when we got home, I was so out of it. I didn't know what day it was. I didn't know what time of day it was. And I just remember thinking, like, how does anybody do this? Like, how are we going to do this? And then after, honestly, we got it, like, throughout the course of 3 days or something, we're able to, like, nod off here and there. And then I kind of, like, got a little bit of my bearings about me. And yeah, so I think we fell into that routine of me trying to just like keep things kind of going in terms of food, mainly food, and that sort of thing. And then you keeping things going with Callie. And I think we both assist each other in those things. Like I get Callie in the morning and we have our little, you know, bonding time. So I get to hang out with her and try to entertain her and make her laugh. And then feed her, and we'll go for a walk usually with the dog, and on the walk I can get her to fall asleep, and that's kind of like our thing. And then if I leave and I come into the office for a little bit, I come home, then maybe I get to hang out with her a little bit more. It's like, it's crazy because she's still sort of in the stage where like when she's awake, just riding that real fine line. You're walking the tightrope. At any moment, there could just be a meltdown. And I'm not great with meltdowns. I'm not. I'm getting better, being more patient and that kind of thing, and not getting drawn in. My emotions kind of will grasp onto the emotions that are around me. So if I'm around a lot of negative people, I get more negative. If I'm around a little baby that's just screaming and crying and really tense and stressed out, it makes me really tense and stressed out. And I have to like step back and be like, oh, that's just a baby. Like her brain doesn't even know that it's a brain. I need to be the adult here, you know. And I'm getting a lot better at that. But as far as a routine, you know, it's still, when we say survival mode, I think in some ways it's responsive. It's a little reactive. And I think it kind of has to be because we don't really know what we're going to get. Yeah. She's constantly changing. She's developing so fast that our lifestyle is changing slightly to a degree. But I think that one thing that really saved me early on was just being able to go outside and do back squats. For the first 4 weeks, I think, pretty much all I did was back squats. I didn't have anything in me really to do a really high intensity Metcon or anything like that. And, but I knew that if I went out and I got under a barbell and I just did a few squats, then I would probably want to do another set. and then maybe I'd add a little bit of load and do another set. And just getting all of that, the hormone release that you get from some resistance training really centered me and kind of brought me back into, okay, here's what's going on. We've got the baby, we've got this wife, we've got this situation. Like, let's figure it out. Let's make it work. And so I think that in terms of fitness, even though it's been so hard to maintain consistency, really trying to do something. Even like there was days where I would just go out and just literally roll around on a foam roller and do some stretching and some breathing. And even doing that was like really, really helpful. The sleeping, I've been really fortunate, like definitely there's some nights where I don't get sleep. And if I don't try to force myself, because I'm a night owl, if I don't try to force myself to go to bed early, I know that there's no snooze button. Like when that morning comes, like I have no choice. I have to get up. Like the baby's crying and she just needs food, or you've given her food and you need to go back to sleep and she needs to be changed or whatever. Like there's no, just give me 10 more minutes, So your sleep has suffered. And Carolina is somebody who loves
Oh my God,
her
I
sleep.
love sleep.
So how has that been affected your training and consistency and that kind of thing?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
There's definitely mornings where I'm like, I will not make it through this day if I don't just sleep for this extra hour instead of working out, And then there's some mornings where I am like, I need to move my body in order to be okay. I think it has a lot to do with mental health. Like navigating, lack of sleep makes you
insane.
Like actually.
Literally, yeah.
And I can feel that it makes me, irritable and impatient and more tense, and there's more like anxiety, like I just can't handle things quite as well. And so I know that I gotta go take care of this beautiful baby girl, and I can't be, irritated and stressed and impatient. So I've got to figure out what it is that I need in that moment. And maybe it's another hour of sleep. Maybe it is to go move and get my heart pumping and my blood flowing. But that early morning time that I have is a lifesaver. So communicating to Jeb that it's like absolutely essential that he gets up early enough and he does whatever he needs to do in order for him to be okay so that he can help me to be okay. Like, I hate asking for help, and part of me sometimes when, like, whatever, he's missed the alarm or something and he happens to, like, sleep through what he would normally get up for, I just let him sleep because I feel bad and I feel guilty and I don't want to ask for help, but I need the help. And so I have to be better about, like, just asking for it, which is, like, so hard, but it's essential. It absolutely is essential.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things there that are really good things to keep in mind. Number one, though, is the question was, like, how do you maintain your fitness? And fitness is a broad term, and I've talked about it before, but, like, if you read Glassman's article, What is Fitness? Or Fitness in 100 Words, and they're amazing, and they're really good when it comes to physical fitness. But fitness by definition is your ability to perform a certain task. And so if we're talking about fitness for life, our ability to live a good life, our ability to be happy and effective and supportive of one another, well, then there's a lot more to it than just the physical. And yeah, sleep is a huge part of it. Obviously, maintaining your body's hardware and being able to use it and keep upregulating all the hormones and the systems in your body that keep things online is hugely important. I think that the nutrition has been pretty big.
Huge.
Made a big difference.
Huge. It's a lifesaver. I mean, like 100%, no joke, hands down, the nutrition has saved our lives.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I think it helped me heal faster. I'm not like losing weight or whatever. I mean, I am now, but that has not been the goal. It has literally been to heal and to get healthy and to get strong and to be able to produce milk to feed my child and, to carry her up and down stairs and pick her up and all of that.
Yeah, and I think that, for me, I really am big into breathing and kind of obviously ebb and flow, mindset, meditation, whatever you want to call it, but getting my mind right. And to me, that's part of fitness. And my mind's not right, then I don't care how jacked I am, how strong I am or whatever, I'm miserable. And so taking some time to do just some quiet breathing to myself is amazing. And I believe that makes me more fit. So it doesn't have to look like anything. How do I maintain my fitness? I just make sure I do something for myself that helps me better perform, or better be able to perform the tasks required by my life right now. And the tasks required really are, to show up for my wife and my baby, to be patient, to try to adapt and be open to whatever curveballs and things that come our way that are unforeseen, because there's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Obviously to provide, and the thank God the means that we have to provide is street parking, where the whole team is so supportive of us and what we're doing, not just for street parking, but like for our baby and for ourselves. So, like Nicole can come in and grab Callie from us and hang out with her, and she's happy to do it. And it's like just those little things like that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, the asking for help thing, I think having people that are around you that are willing to support and be of service and to help, and then using those people and asking, because we're very prideful and we don't want to, I can do this, I can do it on my own, I don't need anybody else, and it's like,
I don't even know if it's pride. It's just,
what do you think it is?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think for you, maybe you'll recognize like, oh, well, he's really tired, I'm just going to let him sleep.
Yeah.
But like, if I
know.
I mean, I'm grateful, I appreciate it, and I like the idea that we've done this a couple of times where I'll have like one day a week where I get to sleep in, and Carolina will just hang out with Callie for the morning. And that's been really nice.
Yeah.
I think those they need to be planned. And if I get sucked into some stupid, YouTube rabbit hole or podcast, at night, and I stay up too late and then I'm tired the next morning, well, that's on me. It's not really,
Yeah. But I can feel it, and I don't like feeling that, so then I have to be like, well, just sleep. Just get your sleep, because I need you to not be tired.
Yeah. But then how does that play out? Because then do you bank it and it's like there's something bubbling up there? There's,
probably.
And then
Yeah.
if you have not slept and you have this little micro resentment that's brewing and you're tired and,
Yeah.
then it just gets
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so in terms of asking for help and communication, I think that's an important thing. And I think people have also been interested in like how our relationship is doing as we navigate, this whole new adventure. And I think that like any relationship, I would guess if you were to ask what our biggest challenge, even before Callie, the biggest challenge, the biggest source of conflict anytime there's been an argument or disagreement or something, it always comes down to communication. I don't know what you want.
And I want you to just know. I shouldn't have to tell you.
Right? And it's, either I did something or I did not do something that I should have done. And I was pretty unconscious about either of those two things. But I think that it becomes even more important when we now are having to work together to achieve the task of parenting. And I think even as simple as when I come in the morning to take her, I need to know how long has she been awake? Has she been fed? Does she need to be changed? When was the last time she woke up? Clue me in on all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting is, I don't know if you've felt this or noticed it, but I have felt like where before I would have maybe held on to something and like you're saying, like harbored it as a resentment or something, or tried to use it against you later, which like sucks, but it's a thing. I feel like when Callie was born, there was this like switch in me where I was just like, I don't have time to harbor a resentment. I don't have time and I don't have energy to do that. And like, there are way bigger things for me to worry about than that. So it's not like I don't get resentful, but I think I've found myself just like straight up telling you more directly and a little bit sooner. So, where before I may have held on to it for a few days, now, I feel like, okay, the last time I remember something coming up was something about you were supposed to be back at a certain time so that I could get ready to leave at a certain time, and you took longer or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like where I would have probably just like stormed out of the house and held on to it and like just been really, kind of pissy for a couple of days or whatever, I told you right before I left, like, hey, this wasn't cool. It makes me feel like this. I know that was not your intention, but I need for you to know that this doesn't work for these reasons. Okay, thanks. I got to go. Bye.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that feels for you, but for me, it feels like it's because I got other stuff to worry about besides like holding on to some stuff that, needs to be talked about, I think.
Yeah.
Worked out. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, communication is always the way to go. And it wasn't like you yelled at me. It wasn't like you insulted me. It wasn't like you said anything passive aggressive. You literally just stated, hey, this is how I feel. Your actions, this is how I feel, as in response to your actions. And I say it that way because of our ongoing thing of, I can't make anybody feel a certain way. Only you can make yourself feel a certain way.
Gosh.
And that there is some truth to that. And then obviously there's that's kind of a cop out in some regards as well.
I kind of feel like we need to give a little bit of background on that for
Okay.
just a second.
Okay.
When we first started dating, or in those early years of us dating, I would get, upset or insecure, or jealous, or irritated, or whatever, and then I would say, you make me feel so crazy, or you make me feel so whatever, and then Jeb would respond, I can't make you feel anything, and then that would make me insane. I told that to Miranda the other day, and she was like, oh, he Jeb and flowed you. I'm like, yeah, he's been Jeb and flowing me for years. But that's another part of yes, as frustrating. Oh God, that used to make me just crazy when he would respond that way. But there's some truth to it, and I had to do a lot of work, and I continue to have to do a lot of work on what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What can I take ownership for, and what do I need him to take ownership for? So trying to be careful with our language when it comes to these kinds of arguments or discussions or whatever. It's not using words like always and never. Mm-hmm. You always do this, or you never do this.
Right.
Those are powerful words, and we have to be really careful when we use them with each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that in that particular instance, when I came home late and you didn't have a lot of time to get ready to get to your call, in my mind, I had it was in my head that I needed to be home at a time that was not the time that you needed me to be home. That's what I thought. And I didn't realize when I got home that, this gives you absolutely no time to for us to hand off the baby, for you to get ready, for you to get to the office and get settled in. You had to be your call started at a time when I thought it was just didn't add up. So for me, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, well, I just made a mistake. I made a mistake, and I got my times wrong, and that's all it is. But if I really respected her time and her schedule and treated it like it was my own, I have an appointment at 2:00, well, then maybe I would have gotten the times right. I would have been more mindful of when it was I was actually supposed to be home. I know that at that time, my head was all over the place, and I was definitely mixing up times, even my own schedule and stuff. So treating your schedule as my schedule may not have helped in that particular instance. But I think it did allow me to reflect. You calmly telling me what you were feeling allowed me to reflect on that and realize, yeah, you're right. I did not respect your time. It wasn't that I just made an honest mistake, even though I did make a mistake, but it goes deeper to that. I made a mistake because I really wasn't respecting your time as much as I could have.
Yeah.
And then I explained that to you when you got home.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, because we don't got time for
yeah.
harboring resentments.
Yeah. So,
and I don't want Callie to feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like she feels everything, and so if she feels that I'm stewing in resentment, that's I don't want her to feel that, or I don't want her to learn the habit of,
storing up stuff to use for later between us or whatever. And I don't want her to see, you know, we don't raise our voices. Like, we just don't do that. We don't use ugly language with each other. You know, we don't, I think we're careful with the types of words that we use with each other. And yeah, and, you know, learning to say, like, okay, if I say I have this thing at 2:00, that's just not enough. I need to say, I have a thing at 2:00. That means I need to start getting ready at 1:15. I need to hand off Callie by 1 p.m. or whatever it is. Like, we need to get more clear on that communication, and we're learning that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like, what time are you getting up? What time are you taking the baby?
Yeah. And I think it helps to always operate under the assumption that the other person they're doing their best. So maybe you made a mistake. Maybe it was out of, like, not fully respecting what I had going on in my schedule, but, like, I have to remember that you're doing your best. And I think that you try to remember that about me, and we are trying to remember that about Callie, and, you know, just, like, so that we're coming into it from that perspective. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
This stuff is hard. It's so hard. And I have to remember that, like, it's hard for you too. And maybe sometimes it's even harder for you, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. Callie's definitely doing her best.
Always.
So speaking of things being hard.
Yeah.
Who is more hard-headed?
Oh, God, that's such a tough question. I think you are.
You think I am? I think it depends.
Yeah, it depends.
I think you're very hard-headed when it comes to certain things, like deciding you're not going to eat some food that's in the fridge.
Yep.
Once it's cut, it's just, nope.
You're out. Well, I'm kind of like that about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like,
we got to eat this food,
Yeah, I have, like, a weird thing sometimes with, like leftovers that are too leftover.
Mm-hmm.
I just won't do it.
I'll eat anything.
Yeah. And I know that, so I kind of just, I'm like, well, he'll eat it. Yeah, I think my immediate response, and this has gone on since the beginning of our relationship, my immediate response is usually, like, nope, wall goes up. I have like an immediate reaction about a lot of things, a strong reaction about a lot of things right away.
Yeah.
And you're, like, a little bit more open, and then you're a little more indecisive sometimes. And then I'm like, well, okay, maybe I could see it differently or whatever. I think
maybe it goes like, you are hard-headed initially.
Yeah.
And then you'll, like, soften up and maybe come around.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of weighing everything out and trying to figure it out. And then once I make up my mind.
Yeah. True.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're both very hard-headed. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I try to be all cool and chill and laid back, but, like, I'm pretty hard-headed about some things.
Yeah.
You know.
But I like the things that you're hard-headed about.
Oh, good. Some of the things you're hard-headed about make me insane.
Okay.
Okay, so perfect day. Why don't you tell us about this, and then we got a couple lightning round questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on one more thing about the whole relationship, thing since Callie, because I had a bunch of those questions, people wanting to know, like, how we're doing, how our relationship is. And, yeah, I'll say, like, it's tough,
Yeah.
But knowing that this is just a phase and that this is all for the betterment of this beautiful little baby, and that it's not personal, and that just because we don't spend a lot of like romantic time together right now doesn't mean that you love me any less. I have to say that it's been immensely helpful that he you have let me heal, and I don't ever feel like weird or guilty or like less attractive, even though like I don't feel super confident in the way that I look these days or the way that what my body is doing these days. That's not, it's like a non-issue between us, which is nice. You know, I don't want to have to worry about whether or not he finds me attractive. I know that it's just not important, I think, I hope. And I think that we have to like get really, really good about recognizing the intimate moments, even if they are a little different, or if they are fewer than what they used to be. You know, like we're ships passing in the night a lot of times, especially with our jobs, and our schedule is constantly changing, and Callie and the routines and all that kind of stuff. And so when there's a moment where we can stop and like share a hug, or like last night we had this bottle of sparkling cider, you know, sparkling grape juice left over from New Year's Eve, because New Year's Eve we had like some friends over to play games, but I ended up staying up with Callie. And whatever, we didn't end up...
forgot to open the grape juice on New Year's Eve. It was a rager.
We never opened it. And it's been sitting in our fridge until last night when Callie finally like went to sleep a little bit early. Jeb was like finishing up meal prepping food, and we decided to like open up this bottle. And I don't know, we shared like... We said Happy New Year's to each other last night. That was like January 10th.
It's like the 12th.
Yeah, okay. I don't even know what day it is. But like being able to connect in that moment and know that like you know, like we see each other. We still see each other. That means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is nobody else that I would want to do all of this with. There's nobody else that I would
And we're doing
would want to, you know, and honestly, if it wasn't for Carolina, I would not be doing any of this. You know,
same.
Honest, like, I did not want to get married. I did not want to have kids.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it was not something that I wanted. And then, like, I got married. At that time, I did want to.
I tricked
because she tricked me again. But no, because she helped me understand what it meant to her and what it means, you know, because it didn't necessarily mean that for me, but that doesn't mean that I can't do something just because, you know, like my heart was with you whether we had that or not.
Yeah.
And I am so happy that we have a baby. It's like the coolest. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know if I was going to care or be bonded with the baby or have any kind of like desire to, you know, hang out with her, if she was just going to be an inconvenience to my life and what I wanted to do. And it's not. I mean, she's just like the best. Sometimes she yells at me, but like, she's so funny and so cool and like just fascinating to watch her grow and develop. And yeah, so there is a lot of just like, you know, kind of being all business right now, but like there's nobody else in the world that I would do this with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and we've been through hard things before.
yeah.
And it doesn't take away. I think we know now that those hard things and the times when, the romance looks different doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, or doesn't it mean that it's not evolving or changing or coming back in another way. It just looks different right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to constantly be evolving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
cool.
Okay. Perfect day.
Oh yeah, the perfect day. Okay, so a couple years ago, we took a group of people to Thailand. We used to take people on retreats, CrossFit and yoga retreats all over the world.
Fitness and yoga.
Fitness. Ooh, sorry.
Couldn't use that word.
Yeah. Fitness and yoga retreats. And we took 30? How many people was it? 25?
25 people.
To Thailand. Shout out to those of you guys that are watching that came with us. It was awesome.
So fun.
And Jeb was doing his version of Jeb and Flow at the time, which was like mindset exercises and, weird trivia scavenger hunts and stuff like that. But there was this one activity where he had us all work with a partner and we had to write down what our perfect day looked like from beginning to end, however we wanted that. And it could be a fantasy, it could be, as much detail as where you are, who you're with, what you eat, where you go, all that kind of stuff. So we had to think about that, write it down, and then share it with someone, and they would share theirs with us. And I wrote down on that day that I wanted to wake up without an alarm. Careful what you wish for. I don't wake up with an alarm, but I am up all night now. So
a living alarm.
Yeah. I wanted to wake up without an alarm and have my morning practice, which has been not what I expected it. I envisioned this beautiful yoga thing where I was floating around and some beautiful robe and having this awesome practice where I do back bends and cool arm balances and whatever. My practice actually looks like still in pajamas that are covered in spit up, hair that's dirty for a week, in cozy socks because it's freezing, in my bedroom next to the bed because I don't want to leave the room because that means that the day actually has to begin, and doing physical therapy pretty much is what that practice looks like. It's changing, but so waking up without an alarm, having my own practice, being able to work online with women, being able to have an early dinner and an evening at home. And
what about the scenery? The vision of what it looks like.
Oh yeah, and there was this there's this walk, there was this pathway, with the mountains in the background, and I pictured myself wearing my baby, walking with my dog, and walking down this path. And just this daily walk was a part of my normal life. And a couple weeks after that, we met Miranda and Julian. And a couple months after that, we decided to move to Vancouver, Washington. And we found this home in this neighborhood where there's a path that looks exactly like what I dreamed about. And I had, a conversation with Miranda and Julian about the type of work that I could do with them, which now has turned into working online with women. And it's taken a few years, but
I got everything I asked for.
Mm-hmm. And then some.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you're not the only one that from that exercise when we did it, that it has experienced that day. Once they wrote it down, once they visualized it in their mind, they wrote it down, and then they shared it with another person. I'm not a science guy. I don't know how this stuff works, but it has worked for a lot of the people. Yeah. There was one guy, and it was the most beautiful, perfect day. It was an older guy, and he was single, and his perfect day involved, finding another woman and being able to, read poetry to her and that kind of thing. And I kept in touch with that guy. I trained him and stuff like that. And I, got to know him really well. And about a year after that trip, he met this woman and they formed a relationship. And every night before bed, they read poetry to each other. And he's a psychologist. He was like, man, that worked. It was crazy. It just makes me so happy when that stuff works out.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, this is not at all how I thought this was going to go.
Okay, lightning round.
I think lack of sleep also makes you susceptible to
super emotional.
Tears and emotions.
Yeah. SP maintenance retreat. The people want to know.
Let's do it. Okay. We are getting used to this.
Yeah, we've got Vegas, we've got summer camp. There's a lot of big things happening.
I don't even know how to travel with a baby right now, so much less how to do a maintenance retreat. But for sure, it is on my list, the top of my list of things that I want to do. I'm thinking a weekend, a long weekend. We do a couple of maintenance sessions throughout the day. We eat some good food. Maybe Jeb does a Jeb and flow type of thing. We do little workshop-y kind of stuff, We're
not going to just sit around crying the whole time.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
maybe.
You probably will cry once.
And yeah, someplace beautiful. I love the thought of going to PEI.
Ooh.
But I'm also really liking the Pacific Northwest. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's really nice up here. Okay, I think we should wrap it up around there.
Okay. You don't have a lightning round kind of thing?
Well, I thought lightning round, but then, okay, there's one other question.
Okay.
Connor versus Cowboy. By the time people see this, the fight will have already happened.
Okay.
Who do you like in the fight? Who do you want to win? Who do you think is going to win?
I like Cowboy. I think Connor will win, but I want the Cowboy to win. I think I don't know, I hate to say this, it sounds like me, but I think the Cowboy's just he's a little too old.
Well, okay, I don't know. I think I'd like to see Cowboy do it as well. We're talking about UFC 246 right now, by the way. Yes, I'm a peaceful guy and I do this Jeb and Flow stuff, but combat sports are my favorite sports. And it is a sport. So Connor's been away for too long and he's got too much money, and I don't know that he can. I don't know if he has the same hunger. I think that Cowboy can get in there. He's been fighting. He's been in it. I think he can do it. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, what Connor has done for the sport is undeniable, and it's awesome, and I appreciate what he's done in some ways in that respect. But at the same time, I don't. And I want him to get knocked out and just retire and get out of here and let the sport continue to evolve with the other people that are still participating. That's what I think. No offense, Connor.
Shoot.
All right.
Cool.
We'll be back next week with a little bit more stuff on the book Flow. Kind of transition to some other cool stuff as well. So I hope you guys have a really good week. And thank you so much, Carolina and Callie, for coming on. We'll have to have this happen maybe a couple times a year or something like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's great.
We loved it. Thank you guys for listening, for just being so accepting and welcoming of us, and supportive of us. We've gotten so much love from the street parking community, and honestly, it's been really huge in helping us as a family.
Yeah.
And this was my first time doing this kind of thing. So, like, I don't know. I feel like I was a little distracted, and I'm glad we got to do it. It felt really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's organic. It's real. It's relatable.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you.
We love you.
We'll talk to you soon.